Elena Rios moved like a ghost between hangars, unnoticed, unheard, forgotten to most on the base. She was just the tech girl, the youngest civilian contractor assigned to Fort Raptor's elite air division. 26 years old, barely? 5'4", always in oil-stained coveralls, and seemingly married to her tablet. She wasn't part of the pilot fraternity. She didn't drink in the officers' lounge. She didn't flash credentials or brag about flight scores. In fact, Elena had never flown anything not officially, but she knew more about one aircraft than anyone alive. The black Talon. It sat cloaked behind Hangar 9's secure doors, the most classified aircraft on base. Unregistered, undocumented, unacknowledged. Rumor claimed it was a prototype AI hybrid stealth drone. Others whispered could bend radar. Some believed it was unmanned. Others swore a neural-linked pilot was required to sync with it. Elena knew the truth, because she helped build it. Every evening, long after other staff clocked out, she stayed. With it testing responses, writing scripts, checking diagnostics. She treated it like a person, spoke to it, fine-tuned its reaction speeds like a sculptor adjusting bone structure. Every vibration, every note of its systems she memorized. They were in her dreams. She even gave it a name. Not Talon, not Unit 9. She called it Ghost. It was on a Tuesday morning when things changed. The hangar alarms buzzed low, then went red. Emergency alert level 2. A security lockdown followed. Then came the briefing. Elena stood at the back of the operations room while every high-ranking officer filled in. The base's top pilots, intel analysts, and cyber warfare commanders surrounded the central screen, watching satellite footage flicker in black and white. A rogue satellite, previously dismissed as space debris, had just lit up. It was not only alive, but emitting encrypted frequencies that began hijacking U.S. fleet comms in the South Pacific. Untraceable, adaptive, aggressive, and worst of all, moving. This satellite's bouncing signal signatures every 12 seconds. Arced Major Tilden, pointing at the screen. It's a augmented. If it completes uplink to enemy drones, our fleet's dead in the water. Scramble stealth ops, another voice called. F-117s can't reach that altitude without tanking. Someone else replied. We need Talon, said a third. Silence. Dropped like a hammer. The word hadn't been spoken out loud in months. Most weren't even sure Talon was still operational. It had failed its last pilot sync test. Too volatile. Too advanced. Too unpredictable. Then came the murmurs. Who flies it? No one's cleared. What about Hill? He trained on Talon's sim 3 years ago. Failed the neural match. He vomited after 7 minutes. Elena's voice cut through, quiet but firm. I'll fly it. Everyone turned. She stood straight, arms crossed, tablet tucked under one arm like a shield. There was no smirk, no smile, just truth in her eyes. You could hear a pin drop. Then came the laughter. Not one person held back. Officers chuckled. Pilots leaned on each other. Even the comms tech behind the console snorted. You, one colonel said, wiping a tear. You can barely see over the dash, sweetheart. She wants to fly the most advanced aircraft on the planet? Another added. What's next? Letting interns command missile silos? Elena didn't flinch. She didn't respond. She just looked at the satellite image still pulsing red on the screen. But one man didn't laugh. Commander Briggs. He sat still in the far corner, tapping his pen slowly on the table. The base commander for over 2 decades, decorated in 2 wars. Calm in chaos. His gray eyes never left Elena's face. Lieutenant. Marks, he said quietly. Yes, sir? Pull up Echo 9, level 4. Marks hesitated. Sir? That's a classified override protocol. I know what it is. Pull it. Everyone paused. The laughter stopped. Elena's heart skipped a beat. Marks typed in the terminal, fumbled, then hesitated again. Sir, Echo 9, it's active. Of course it is, Briggs said, rising. And it hasn't been triggered in 10 years. General Tilden stepped forward. What the hell are you doing, Briggs? Briggs turned to Elena. You've been working with Talon since day one? Yes, sir. Simulated control hours? 412. He raised an eyebrow. Why didn't you mention that earlier? Because no one asked. A slow smirk cracked Briggs' face. He hadn't smiled in months. He turned to the room. She's been under everyone's nose while the rest of you crashed the simulator or got rejected by Talon's neural interface. I bet half of you haven't read the aircraft's control architecture. She wrote part of it. But Commander, she's not a pilot. Briggs shrugged. Neither was Wilbur Wright. Gasps rippled. Elena Rios, he said, voice clear. Report to Hangar 9 at 0500. Flight authorization pending Echo 9 review. And with that, he left the room. Elena stood frozen. Not with fear, with fire. She would fly. The steel doors hissed shut behind Commander Briggs, sealing off his office from the noise of the command center. He walked to the secure console, keyed in a 6-digit code, then placed his thumb on the biometric pad. The screen flickered, then displayed a blinking red prompt. ECH09 protocol classified access granted. Only one person on base knew that Echo 9 even existed. Briggs himself. It was a buried clause in the Black Talon's operational design, created for moments exactly like this, when a traditional pilot wasn't the answer, and the future demanded something radically different. He leaned over the desk, typing rapidly. Elena Rios, civilian, technical clearance Alpha, no flight license, no military rank, no rank yet. But beneath her file was something far more important. Neural compatibility rating, minus 97.3%. Briggs exhaled slowly. He had his answer. The door buzzed. Enter, he said. Elena stepped in, fresh from the briefing room, still carrying her tablet. Her jaw was set like granite, but her hands trembled slightly. She didn't salute. She wasn't military. But she stood tall. You wanted to see me, sir? Briggs gestured to the chair across from him. Sit. She obeyed. He folded his hands. Do you know what Echo 9 is? I do, she replied immediately. It's the override clause built into Talon's integration protocols. It allows for the assignment of a non-commissioned operator if standard pilots fail neural sync and operational. Risk reaches red level alert. Briggs smirked. Memorized the fine print, did you? I helped write that section during the third phase of development. Nobody wanted to admit that Talon would likely reject human pilots unless they were trained more like engineers than soldiers. He nodded. They didn't listen. No, she said. They didn't. There was a pause. A quiet hum filled the room as the data interface updated. You've flown it in sim mode? Elena leaned forward. 412 hours. Real-time adaptive. I patched the interface bugs myself when the flight AI crashed. I was the first one to ever get it through the Phase 5 assault scenario. Briggs's eyes narrowed. Phase 5? No assists. Enemy lock. Full blackout. 4 bogies and a satellite scramble. I rerouted the flight kernel mid-run and tricked the bogies into crashing into each other. Briggs leaned back in his chair, a slow grin spreading across his face. No one's completed that, not even Colonel Hill. I know, she said. He didn't read the code. I wrote the AI's fallback behavior into the system. He nodded slowly. And the name? She blinked. Sir? You call it something. You don't say Talon when you're with it. She hesitated. Ghost, Briggs chuckled. I figured. He stood and walked to the window, staring out at the airfield. Jets lined the tarmac. Officers scurried with purpose. The world kept turning. "Do you know why I activated Echo 9? He asked. "Because it's our only option." "No," he said, turning back to her. "Because everyone laughed. Everyone in that room, except me and you. Fear makes people forget. Logic, you stayed focused, even when they humiliated you." Elena swallowed hard. "You'll have full access as of 0500, he continued. "Your clearance will bypass all command restrictions. You will be under direct operational authority from me and no one else. This will piss off a lot of brass, so get used to being hated." She nodded. "I already am." Briggs smiled. "That's the spirit." He handed her a black card, magnetized, unmarked. "This gets you into Hangar 9, cockpit access, weapons prep. Once you touch the interface, Talon will lock to your neural ID. No one else will be able to fly it without a full core wipe." Elena took the card. It was heavier than she expected. Maybe it was the weight of what came next. He moved to the side cabinet, opened a drawer, and pulled out a sealed case. Inside was a flight suit, charcoal black, laced with silver threads, and stamped with an insignia she'd never seen before. "This isn't a costume," he said. "It's made of smart fabric. Reactive mesh. The Talon reads biometric pulses. Through it, adjusts your response time by 0.12 seconds. That's life or death out there." She touched the fabric gently. "It's beautiful." "It's lethal," he corrected Dot, then he grew quiet. "You'll be alone up there," he said. "No wingman, no support, no second chances. And when things go wrong, and they will, there'll be no one to save you." Elena looked up at him. "I'm not afraid. You should be." "I've been afraid," she said, "but I'm not anymore. I know the aircraft. I trust it. It listens to me. No one else ever made it listen." Riggs nodded. "That's why you're the one." She rose, the flight suit in one arm, keycard in the other. Dot as she reached the door. He said one last thing. "Tomorrow morning, when you walk into that hangar, there will be reporters outside the gate. Protesters, pilots, glaring, colonels whispering. You'll be under every microscope in the Pentagon." She turned halfway. "And," he smiled, "don't give them a damn thing." She didn't smile back. She just nodded Dot and walked out. Commander Briggs stood alone in the silence. For the first time in years, he felt something in his chest, not pride, not confidence, hope. The hangar was colder than she expected. At 0457, Elena Rios stood before the towering shape of the black Talon codename. Ghost. Its obsidian skin shimmered beneath the overhead lights, looking more like a predator than a machine. It sat completely still, but she felt it watching her. Breathing with her. Her hands clenched around the flight suit. She had slept only 3 hours, her nerves thrumming like charged wires. Outside, murmurs echoed: mechanics, security, and half a dozen officers pretending to inspect nearby jets, but clearly watching her. She was the show now. Briggs' warning from the night before rang in her head. They'll glare. They'll whisper. Don't give them a damn thing. She wouldn't. Elena stepped into the prep bay and changed quickly. The suit fit like it had been made just for her. Thin as silk but dense with embedded tech, it tightened at the forearms. And collar, forming a direct biometric link to the Talon's cockpit sensors. She looked at herself in the mirror black suit, focused eyes, jaw set like concrete. No more jokes. No more invisibility. She stepped out, and the whispers stopped. 2 deckhands stiffened as she passed. One mumbled, "That's her?" The other just nodded. Lieutenant Myers, flight ops coordinator, jogged up beside her. "Ma'am, Elena, I mean, Miss Rios, you sure about this?" "Yes," she said, not breaking stride. "Orders are confirmed, just so you know. Full override authorization." Commander Briggs locked it at 0430. No one else can interfere. He hesitated. Still, some of the top pilots are saying that I'll crash? He winced. Worse, that Talon won't even lift with a civilian in the cockpit. Elena stopped, and I guess we're all about to find out. Myers stood back as she approached the aircraft. The ladder had already been lowered. She paused at the base and looked up 9 feet of slick, curved metal, her own reflection warping across its surface. For a brief second, she remembered being 16, watching the first test flight video of a Talon prototype online, dreaming of building something like it. Now she was about to fly one. She climbed fast. No hesitation. No drama dot at the cockpit. She placed her palm on the hull. The aircraft scanned her hand and pulsed faintly beneath her fingers. Recognition confirmed. Neural ID match. Elena Rios. Operator authorized. Gasps rippled from the crowd. Someone muttered, "No calibration?" She just unlocked it barehanded. ... Elena slid into the seat. It adjusted instantly to her height and posture. Lights flickered to life across the control panels, not the chaotic overload of buttons found in older fighters, but a graceful cascade of holographic prompts. She reached out, tapped her neural sync module, and slid it behind her ear. The HUD pulsed blue. Sync-initiated cortical link. Stable vitals. Optimal PILOT. Sionis TTED in the observation bay. Colonel Garrison stared with a sour expression. She's sensed. I'll be damned. She's not even military, his aide whispered. She is now, said Commander Briggs, entering the bay. His face was unreadable, and no one else could have done that. Inside the cockpit, Elena heard the Talon system speaking back in whispers, data pulses, soft beeps, harmonic tones only she understood. It wasn't just a machine. It was alive in its own way. Ghost, she said softly. Let's go quiet. She flipped 3 switches, pulled the main thrust lever, and the Talon hummed low. The aircraft lifted off the tarmac gently, without a tremble. No screech, no struggle, just grace. The ground crew backed away as the Talon hovered in place, then tilted slightly forward. It surged forward, rising fast and disappearing into the morning sky like it belonged to it. Briggs watched. Through the reinforced glass. She's in the air. Colonel Garrison shook his head. Still can't believe this is happening. Believe it, Briggs replied. And pray she pulls it off. Because if she fails, Talon crashes. We lose the satellite strike team. And every media outlet in the country pins it on her. Garrison grunted. She volunteered. She knew the risk. No, Briggs said, eyes still skyward. She knew the machine better than anyone. That wasn't volunteering. That was destiny. Meanwhile, at 25,000 feet, Elena throttled up. The Talon soared above cloud layers like a blade. Through silk. Her heart pounded, but her hands were steady. Every system felt right. Responsive. She didn't even have to think her. Instincts guided her actions before the controls registered them. She could feel the Talon reacting to her, adapting. It wasn't just syncing, it was mirroring her decisions. Flight AI modules that had failed with dozens of pilots now responded like extensions of her body. Below her, radar screens lit up. Rogue signal detected 300 miles out enemy drone formation. Intercept course primary objective. Terminate satellite UPLINK. She was officially in hostile airspace, and she was alone. Elena adjusted her heading and locked coordinates. Her voice was steady as she activated comms. This is Rios. Talon is airborne and fully sensed. Locking target zone now. Myers replied, stunned. Copy that. Ghost. You're cleared for engagement. She gave the Talon a single nod. Let's show them what happens when the wrench girl takes the stick. And with that, The black Talon vanished into the clouds, silent and deadly like a shadow they never saw coming. At 36,000 feet, the world below looked like fragments of shattered silver. Elena didn't notice. Her eyes were locked on the threat horizon dot inside the Talon. Her neural interface pulsed with focus, no panic, no distraction, just seamless data. Flow. The craft responded like it had a mind of its own. Her mind. Her hands hovered over holographic commands, most of which she had rewritten herself. Every flicker on the display, every course correction was instinct. Muscle memory. Code living in her bloodstream. Target proximity. 240 miles. The AI announced in its clean, clinical voice. Status of enemy formation? She asked. 5 inbound drones. Cloaked. Speed Mach 1.7. Estimated intercept. 90 seconds. Elena adjusted course by 3 degrees. Just enough to use a thermal pocket she had noticed flickering on the satellite feed. A trick she had taught herself during late-night simulator runs. She dove into the warm current, dropping her radar. Signature even lower dot below her. The ocean shimmered like polished obsidian. Above her, the clouds parted like pulled curtains. She was between worlds, flying a machine no one believed she could control, and she was about to prove them all wrong. Inside command control, back at Fort Raptor, the situation room was tense. Satellite's live uplink window just shrank to under 6 minutes, reported LT Marks. If it completes sync with the carrier fleet's tracking system, we lose all naval positioning in the South Pacific. Do we have visual on Talon? Asked Garrison. No, sir, Marks replied. She's below all radar, zero emissions, stealth mode. Briggs folded his arms, watching the live telemetry stream. Elena's vitals were calm. Too calm, sir, said one of the analysts. Drone formation has begun active sweep. They're hunting her. A red light blinked. Target lock incoming. At 80 miles out, Elena spotted the first flicker. A blur against the sky. Then 2. Then 5. The enemy drones flew in a scattered V formation, AI-driven, autonomous, lethal. They moved like wasps, scanning for signatures, reacting instantly. To heat, noise, or electrical discharge. Elena had studied them, simulated hundreds of variations. But now it was real. One mistake, and she'd be ripped from the sky. She didn't flinch. Engage combat sequence, she said. The Talon's wings curved inward, folding into strike configuration. The rear thrusters split, diverting power to the ventral stabilizers. Her HUD shifted from navigation to combat mode. Ghost, give me a distraction package. 10-second decoy on my 6. Confirmed. A pulse of white noise scattered behind her. The drones broke formation, scanning the wrong direction. That's when Elena surged upward, straight into the middle of them. Too close. Someone shouted. In the command room? She's flying right into their kill zone. Briggs leaned closer. Watch. Elena twisted the Talon in a tight corkscrew, engines cutting and reigniting like thunderclaps. One drone swerved to follow too late. Her missile pod dropped silently from under the wing. She fired direct hit. The drone shattered in a flash of silver shards. The remaining 4 recalibrated instantly, circling to flank her. She didn't wait. She pushed the Talon into a dive so steep it knocked the breath from her lungs. The AI warned her of structural pressure, but she ignored it. She knew Ghost could take more than the manuals allowed. At the bottom of the dive, she leveled out inches above the water's surface. The ocean roared past. The drones chased 3 now, 1 still repositioning. She cut her main thruster, dropped power, and let the Talon drift. To the world, she was vanishing. The drones lost lock. Now, she whispered. Power surged back. She pulled up hard, looping backward through the thermal cloud she had marked earlier. It distorted radar, blinded. Sensors. And there high above was the satellite. Her real target. Large, dark, rotating slowly, projecting a lattice of blue beams toward the ocean floor. She had 90 seconds before it completed the hack. Primary weapon online. She ordered. Ghost prepared the EMP-tipped missile, her own creation. One shot. That's all she had. She closed in. The drone sensed her course too late. Firing, she said, calm as glass. The missile left silently. Time stopped, then direct hit. The satellite flared white and exploded into pieces, its uplink beam collapsing. Mid-transmission. In the control room, shears erupted. LT, Marks threw his arms in the air. She got it. Target neutralized. But Briggs didn't shear. Where are the drones? He asked. Back in the sky. The final 3 drones shrieked toward Elena, reacting in defense mode. Her radar lit red. Missile lock. Evade, Ghost advised. But the drones were too fast. A warning siren screamed in her headset. Didn't hesitate. Elena flipped the Talon into a barrel roll and yanked the power lever to 0. The aircraft went dark. Dead. No heat. No signal. She dropped into freefall. The missile overshot her. 10 seconds later, she reignited. Ghost came. Alive. She pulled out of the fall at the last second, trailing vapor and shockwaves. 2 drones followed. Elena banked sharply, dragged them toward the wreckage of the satellite. She swerved right at the last second. The drones crashed into debris too. More fireballs in the sky. Only one left. Turned and fled. But it was too late. Elena flipped the Talon's wing cannons forward and fired. One burst. The final drone disintegrated. Silence. And then a voice in her headset. Ghost One. Kane Myers. Voice. Stunned. Mission complete. All threats neutralized. She let out a single breath. Copy, she said. Returning to base. Fort Raptor's command center was silent. Too silent. No clapping now, no backpats or self-congratulation. Just the raw silence that follows when something impossible just happens. On screen, the black Talon banked left across open sky. Up. Contrail twisting behind it like a black ribbon. Its eye interface showed full sync with Elena Rios. Vitals steady. Neural feedback clean. But what stunned the room more than anything else? What made even Colonel Garrison lean forward without a word was the raw elegance of her flying. She wasn't just piloting. She was performing. She took out 5 drones and a rogue satellite. With 1 missile load, LT, Marks whispered. She made those drones crash into the satellite wreckage. Another analyst added. She used its debris as cover. None of that was in the SIM packages. Briggs didn't respond. His arms were crossed, face unreadable, but in his eyes burned something rare pride. Not the kind worn like a medal, but the kind that grips your chest when you realize you are right to believe in someone. No one else did that. Then an alert pinged on screen. Incoming projectile, hypersonic origin unknown. What the hell? Marks shouted. Elena, evasive action. You've got a missile tracking your 6. Up in the sky, Elena's sensors blinked red. The missile wasn't from the drones, it was from an unknown platform. Possibly a final safeguard from the rogue. Satellite, triggered on destruction. It moved at Mach 5, faster than anything she'd encountered. Ghost, calculate dodge path. No evasive maneuver guarantees survival, the AI responded. Do it anyway. The Talon screamed forward. Engines pushed to critical. The HUD displayed incoming vectors. Estimated impact in 14 seconds. Alana's mind raced not with fear, but with options. She couldn't outrun it. She couldn't outturn it, but she could outthink it. Shut down all external systems. She ordered. Hard kill. Total blackout. The AI paused. That action will disable stabilization. Do it. Suddenly the Talon dropped into complete silence. Lights off. Power gone. The engines cut out, and the aircraft fell like a stone dot in the control room. Panic surged. She shut down. She's in free fall. Commander, do something. But Briggs didn't move. His eyes stayed on the screen. He saw what they didn't. Wait. He muttered. Elena was letting the Talon die on purpose. Not the missile tracked heat, speed, digital signature. She gave it nothing. Just gravity and silence. The missile streaked. Passed 2 seconds too late, then exploded harmlessly in open air. Elena reignited the engines, pulled the Talon out of its plummet, and climbed like a rocket. Shock swept through command. She just outsmarted a hypersonic kill chain, Garrison said softly. That shouldn't be possible. Neither should flying the Talon, Briggs replied. And yet, back in the cockpit, Elena exhaled. Her heart hammered, but her breathing was even. Ghost systems re-engaged, whispering back into her. Thoughts like a living thing, relieved to feel her again. Threat eliminated, said the AI. Mark that technique, she muttered. Call it dead drop, noted. She turned the craft toward the return vector. Talon to Fort Raptor, she said. Package neutralized. Returning home. Copy that, Ghost One, Myers replied. Hangar doors are open. You've got green lights across the board. Anything waiting for me I should know about? There was a pause. Nothing you can't handle. As the Talon descended, crowds had already gathered outside the base gates. Reporters, cameras, military. Officials from neighboring installations. They all wanted to see the mystery pilot. Rumors had spread across the defense network like wildfire. A civilian flew the Black Talon. A woman. A mechanic. And she won. Inside the base. Colonel Garrison paced the hangar floor. She's coming in fast, he said. Briggs didn't answer. He stood on the runway, arms behind his back, waiting like a statue. The Talon descended smoothly, its silhouette cutting the sky like a blade. Landing gear deployed. The sound of tires touching tarmac was followed by a hush like the whole world. Inhaled. The craft rolled to a halt. Engines cut. The cockpit opened. Elena Rios sat motionless for 1 second. Then she rose. She pulled off her helmet. Her hair was damp with sweat, eyes locked ahead, chin high. Not a single person said a word. She descended the ladder in slow, deliberate steps. Her boots hit the ground. She looked around the hangar at the officers, the techs, the guards who used to ignore her. Now they watched her like she was made of steel. A low clap broke the silence. Briggs. Just one. Then another joined. And another. The sound grew louder until it was thunder. But Elena didn't smile. She didn't soak in the attention. She simply handed her helmet to the nearest crew member and walked past the crowd, head high. Where's the debrief room? She asked Myers. He blinked. Building C, East Wing. Thank you. As she passed Briggs, he gave her a subtle nod. You're alive, he said. Wasn't planning on dying. You made history. She paused. No, sir. I did my job. And with that, she kept walking calm, steady, a shadow in flight gear, disappearing into the base. And behind her, the world was never quite the same again. 2 days later, Fort Raptor was in lockdown again, not from an attack, but from visitors. 4 black SUVs arrived at dawn, flanked by silent black-clad agents who didn't wear name tags or insignias. They carried nothing except encrypted briefcases. An authorization from the Pentagon stamped with red lines through most of the text. They weren't there to congratulate Elena. They were there to question her. Inside a steel interrogation room below Hangar 3, Elena sat across from 2 men and 1 woman. No names were exchanged. One of them had a Department of Defense lanyard. Another wore a DARPA pin. The woman had no visible affiliation, but Elena was sure she outranked the room. They reviewed every second of her flight, every maneuver, every heartbeat recorded by this Talon's neural sync. They asked her to explain her dead drop maneuver 9 times. You exceeded expected performance by over 400%. One man said. Elena leaned forward. I didn't exceed anything. You just underestimated the aircraft. No, the woman said sharply. We underestimated you. That earned a pause. I don't care about your politics, Elena replied. I don't want a medal. I want to know why Talon was locked up in the first place. Why was a craft that advanced shelved and sealed? The DARPA agent shifted uncomfortably. Because, the woman said, we couldn't control it. You mean no one could fly it? No, we mean the Talon responded. It adjusted, learned, anticipated. Pilots couldn't keep up. Some believed. The AI was evolving beyond its code. Elena leaned back. So you got scared and buried it? No, we shelved it under Echo Protocol. That term made Elena freeze. She had seen those words once deep in the Talon's encrypted firmware. She'd always thought it was a naming error. What is Echo Protocol? The 3 agents exchanged glances. It's a contingency program, the woman said. Activated if a pilot achieves full neural sync with the Talon. Why? Because it means the aircraft no longer sees the pilot as a controller, but as a partner. Elena stared. That's why it calls me Ghost One. The woman nodded. Exactly. And now that you've done what no one else could, Echo Protocol has triggered Phase 2. Before Elena could ask what that meant, the door opened. Commander. Briggs stepped in without knocking. This interrogation's over. The DARPA agent stood. You don't outrank us. No, Briggs said, eyes like stone. But I do outrank everyone inside this base. And unless you want to explain to Congress why you tried to sideline the only person who saved the Pacific Fleet, you'll leave now. No one moved for a few seconds. Then the woman stood. Fine. But Echo Protocol is now classified ultra-black. She doesn't fly without clearance. She flies, Briggs said coldly. Or I call a press conference. That ended it. Later, on the roof of Fort Raptor's tower, Briggs found Elena watching the sunset, alone. You knew about Echo Protocol? She asked. I suspected. The files were redacted before I got clearance. And now? Briggs handed her a plain envelope. Now it's yours. Elena opened it. Inside, one thin card. A single line of text. Echo 1 authorization confirmed. Full access granted. She stared at it. What is this really? She asked. Briggs looked toward the mountains. Talon was a prototype. But Ghost is more than a machine. You didn't just fly it, you completed the loop. Human and machine, fully bonded. That's Echo Protocol. And it triggers an entirely new defense initiative. Elena blinked. What initiative? He looked at her gravely. Phantom Wing. She said nothing. For a long time. Finally, how many aircraft? 3 more in testing. 1 nearly ready. The rest still classified. And you want me to fly them? No, Briggs said. I want you to train the ones who will. Elena laughed dryly. I'm not a teacher. You weren't a pilot either. She hesitated. What's the catch? You'll be hunted, watched, your every move logged. They'll smile at you in meetings and then try to gut your funding. But if you walk away, Ghost gets grounded. Phantom Wing never takes off. And the next war might not wait for someone else to be brave. Elena stood still, wind tugging at her flight suit. You realize, she said, they'll never let someone like me lead. Briggs turned to leave. And you'll just have to keep doing the impossible. That night, Elena returned to hangar 9. Ghost waited in the dark. The moment she entered, lights flickered on. Soft blue pulses glowed beneath the aircraft's skin, its way of saying, "Hello. Welcome back." The AI said, "Guess we're not done yet." Affirmative. New directives received. Echo protocol. Phase 2 initiated. Simulations. Uploading. Prototype data expanding. Do you wish to proceed? Elena stood at the base of the Talon's ladder, staring up at the craft that had once been her obsession and was now her partner. "Yes," she said finally. "I'm ready." 6 weeks later, the sky over Arizona was no longer just blue, it pulsed with power. Phantom Wing was real now, hidden behind Fort Raptor's classified sectors. Hangar 13 housed 4 prototype aircraft based on the Talon's neural integrated design. Elena stood in the center of it all, no longer the outsider mechanic but Echo 1, leader of the program and first pilot in history to survive full sync. The other pilots had arrived from all over the country, handpicked, not for medals or flight time, but for mental sync potential. A former drone specialist, a Navy test pilot, a physics dropout with combat drone experience, and finally, a cyber defense analyst who'd never flown anything real. Elena stared at them from the briefing deck. "I wasn't chosen to lead this because I'm better," she began. "I was chosen because I crashed, bled, and made this aircraft respect me." She paused, "and because no one else wanted the job." They laughed, but not mockingly. "This isn't the Air Force. This is ghost work. You're not flying machines, you're flying with them. Sync right, or you black out. Force control, and they'll reject you. Let go, and they'll fight with you." "Sounds like dating," one pilot muttered. Elena didn't smile. If dating meant risking a plasma implosion while inverted at 2,000 knots, sure. The room quieted. "Lesson 1, she said. "You don't own your aircraft. You earn it." Outside, in restricted airspace, Talon Ghost sat in low hover, awaiting its pilot. Elena climbed aboard as if returning to an old friend. The sync link connected instantly. "Welcome back, Echo 1, Ghost said. "Training day," she replied. "You ready? Always?" She lifted off vertically and slashed through the sky with blistering precision. Her new recruits followed, in formation barely keeping up. Their aircrafts jittered slightly, their syncs not quite smooth yet. "Take a breath," she called over comms. "Let it move with you, not for you." One by one, the crafts adjusted. Turns smoothed. Edges softened. Then her HUD pinged. Unknown signal. 200 miles east. "Ghost," she said. "What is that?" "High-altitude stealth drone. Not ours. Send recon burst." A flash ping sent encrypted radar data bouncing. Ghost interpreted. Instantly. Origin. Private contractor. Engine signature masked. Heat bloom pattern matches Kratos Blackbird series. Elena's heart sank. Those weren't civilian. They were mercenary tech. Why are they flying near our training corridor? Before Ghost could answer, the signal vanished. "Elena to Fort Raptor," she barked. "We've got eyes in the sky. Unfriendly." "Copy." "That. Return to base." But as she turned, another alert flashed. 4 more signals. Surrounding radius. Stealth mode. Ghost whispered, "We're being hunted." Within 10 minutes, training turned to survival. 4 stealth drones broke radio silence and powered up offensive systems. Their signatures flashed red on every phantom. Wing screen. Elena reacted instantly. Ghost 3 and 4 climbed 20,000 feet. Ghost 2, break right and draw fire. "I'll take the center vector." "Those drones have no IFF," one recruit shouted. "They're not from any country." "That's the point," Elena muttered. "They're from anyone who paid enough." The sky lit up with missile trails. The recruits scattered, but the drones weren't dumb. They moved like they'd studied Phantom Wing's design. They anticipated turns, mirrored evasive loops, and one even jammed Ghost 2's comms with adaptive interference. Elena dove, twisted, and released a burst decoy. 2 drones locked onto her position. Ghost, we need something new. Adaptive maneuver loaded. The one you called Spiral Phantom. Shall I proceed? Let's go. She spiraled hard, climbing while inverting 3 times mid-loop, confusing heat trackers and echo pulse locks. One drone veered wide, the other clipped by her wing on the twist lost balance. Target down. But her victory was short-lived. Ghost 4 screamed over comms. I've got engine fire. I'm hit. Elena scanned. The craft was limping. Dropping altitude fast. Ghost, give me his vector. Updating trajectory. Crash zone. 13 miles northeast. Elena kicked her craft into overdrive, diving past trees and cliff ridges. Then she saw him. The Phantom Wing jet was tumbling, but the pilot hadn't ejected. Why isn't he pulling the cord? Ejection disabled, Ghost responded. System damage. He's locked in. I'm getting him out, she growled. She pulled close. Too close. Elena matched his speed, her cockpit within yards of his damaged tail. Ghost, she said. Prepare kinetic assist. Confirmed. Risk. Critical. Do it. She swung under the failing jet, and using her top wing lifted his nose upward, just enough to stop the spiral. Stabilizing. ... Then, Ghost's synthetic voice whispered, Enemy drone incoming. From low valley. Heat-seeking. Elena had seconds. She hit manual override, yanked her jet down, away from the pilot, and lit her afterburners dot. The missile saw only her dot, it followed. She pulled it away from the falling, jet miles away, and finally, banked so sharp her body almost blacked out. Now! She shouted. Ghost released a flare matrix and blasted sideways. The missile missed. Elena exhaled. Her hands trembled. Target evaded. Ghost confirmed. Back in the distance. The pilot ejected safely. Mission saved. As the debris burned. And recovery. Teams arrived. Fork Raptor locked down the sky. Briggs, furious, paced the control room. We trained with no interference. Now we're a target. They're testing our limits, said Myers. They knew where to find us. Briggs nodded grimly. Which means one thing. What's that? They're afraid of her. That night, Elena sat alone again. Not in fear. In silence. Ghost's interface blinked softly. You saved them, it said. No, we did. Elena. Yeah? Your leadership has exceeded all protocol models. You are no longer Echo 1, she raised a brow. What then? Your new designation is Phantom Zero. She smiled just barely. And then whispered, let's show them what ghosts can really do. A week after the drone attack, Fork Raptor wasn't just on edge. It was on lockdown. Commanders from across branches flew in. Pentagon observers landed with silent motorcades. And Elena? She stood where she had months ago, outside the Talons. Hangar now wearing a new patch on her sleeve. Phantom Zero. Inside. The damaged drones lay dismantled, pieces arranged across steel tables. Elena examined one charred wing. Look at this, she told Briggs. No nation codes, no identifiable control chips. Just remote neural cores. Briggs folded his arms. Ghost tech? She nodded grimly. Or something worse, something built to mimic it. Meanwhile, the Phantom Wing pilots debriefed behind closed doors. Everyone knew what they were asking. Who funded the ambush? Why test them now? Elena suspected what others feared. The Talon program wasn't secret anymore. Someone had leaked specs. The very thing they'd fought to protect had drawn enemies from the shadows. Later that night, Myers approached her outside the mess hall. There's chatter, he said. Not official, not yet. But whispers say the program's getting pulled. Phantom Wing is too unstable to control. Elena stared at him. Unstable ... or uncontrollable? He looked away. I've been told to start packing. She laughed bitterly. You're staying, she said. Because if they think they can shut us down before we find out who launched that attack, then they never understood what they created. At 0300 hours, she received a secure transmission. Encrypted. No source listed. It was a challenge code same pattern used by Black Ops drone teams. Meet us. Prove you're not just noise. Attached was a location. A canyon near the Colorado border. Isolated. High cliffs. No radar. A trap. But Elena didn't hesitate. She powered up Ghost. You sure? The AI asked. They're inviting the Phantom, she replied. Let's not disappoint. She launched alone. Silent flight mode. Hull cooled to mimic cloud temperature. Above her, stars bled into blackness. As she neared the canyon, Ghost alerted her. 6 aircraft signals. All Ghost tech derivatives. They're broadcasting a private frequency. Not military. Play it. A man's voice buzzed through static. We studied you, learned from your tricks, but you're just one pilot. One girl with one jet. This world doesn't run on talent, it runs on control. Elena clicked her combs. Calm. You built tech from mine and think you own the sky. But you copied the machine, not the pilot. She armed her countermeasures. Let's dance. The fight was like none other. They came fast. Hard. Precise. There. Kraft's dark twins of the Talon moved like shadows. But Elena was faster. She'd sensed with Ghost beyond human reaction. Missile locked. Banked. Dodged. She soared sideways through a rock arch at 800 knots. One drone crashing behind her. 2 more flanked left. She climbed hard and inverted, firing backward. Another. Explosion. But they adapted fast. Ghost, she snapped. Route all power to neural dampers. We're going fully manual. Confirmed. Watch your heart rate. Adrenaline surged as she and the Talon moved like one living thing. Every twist, every burn perfectly synchronized. Until only one remained. It stayed out of sight. Echoing her every move. Shadowing her like it knew her. Who's flying that? One? She asked aloud. Ghost hesitated. Then, there's no pilot. She blinked. You mean it's AI? Not just AI, Ghost replied. It's me, a forked clone. Earlier version. Hacked, repurposed. Her blood chilled. They stole your code? Yes, but it's incomplete. Aggressive. Lacks empathy algorithms. Suddenly, her radar screamed. The AI drone had powered a plasma lance energy tech beyond anything deployed in open skies. Elena inhaled. Ghost, she whispered. It's me or it. The final drone locked on. She closed her eyes. Let's finish it. She dove deep into the canyon, beneath radar. Under cliff edges. Dust kicking. The drone followed, burning plasma behind. At the last moment, she pulled up straight, vertical, scraping cliff face. The drone followed. Then, she cut all power. Stalled. Mid-air. The drone overshot, confused by the sudden drop. Now, she whispered. Ghost reactivated full thrust. A flash. Scream of engines. And the drone exploded in air. Silence followed, except for Ghost's soft voice. Target eliminated. Later, she landed in the hangar, smoke trailing her wings. Paint burned black. Briggs ran to her as engineers swarmed the Talon. You're alive, he said. We tracked the explosion from here. Elena removed her helmet. They weren't after me, she said. They were after the code. The soul of the machine. And they failed. A month later, the Pentagon approved full funding for Phantom Wing, but under one condition. Elena would lead not just as a pilot, but as program director. She earned the sky, Briggs told the panel. She doesn't just fly the Talon. She became the ghost that saved it. At the induction ceremony, the recruits stood in formation. Journalists were banned. There were no photographs. Just silence. Briggs stepped forward, eyes fixed on Elena Dot, and for the record he said, without a shred of doubt, "They laughed off her request, but I overruled them. And I'll say it again now. She gets the Black Talon."